Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday and that means it's time for TCG Weekly. I'm just going to keep it short and snappy today. We'll be jumping right over to TCGO in just a second. Just going to give you a quick briefing on what I've been doing on TCGO this week. So, I've played 20 games in total. I've won 10 and lost 10. Normally I would try and average about 35 games a week, so try and play 5 games a day, but sometimes time constraints means I don't have time to play every day, so maybe a few games less this week, but I'll try for more next week. The main deck that I've been testing this week is a Mega Glalie Deck, which I've called Ice Bolts. Actually started off with Zeb Striker in the deck, made it too clunky, so I took it out, and now the deck just runs better than I imagined, and hopefully I can get a good game for you on TCGO just after. So with that deck, I played 8 games with that deck, won 5, lost 3. The last one I lost, I made a very stupid mistake. I was playing against Mega Glalie, I had the upper hand, then played a dive ball, picked out Manaphy, and I benched the Manaphy. And of course all my opponent had to do was Lysander. So that really was a stupid mistake, but let's just say I've learned from that one. And then this week I've gained a total of 110 versus points, so I'm moving quite nicely up the ladder now. I'm into the second sort of section of the 3 sections of the versus ladder, so I'm hoping as there's 9 days still to go on that, I can get to the end and get that full art Bridget for my online collection. So, without further ado, let's head over to TCGO and I'll show you the Mega Glalie deck I've been testing this week. Okay, so we're now here on TCGO and we'll dive right into the deck so I can show you what the deck consists of. When it's finished loading. Okay, so now that that's got its little thing out the way, I'll just expand the deck so we can get a full view here. Right, so the deck revolves around Mega Glalie. For 1 water double colourless, try a mouth 100, and if this Pokemon has 10 or more damage counters on it, this attack does 150 more damage. So our main aim of the deck is to build up the Glalie and just start dishing out 100 every turn, and then when we get damaged, dish out double that. We use Regice as our alternative attacker just to stop EXs. So we're on a 3-3 Mega Glalie line. 1 Manaphy to help us with retreating, 3 Regice, and then 2 Remoraid and 2 Octillery, so a 2-2 Octillery line. Like I said, originally there was a Zeb Striker line in the deck, and that was instead of what is now the Octillery line, but I soon realised that wasn't going to work, so I went back to the old tried and tested Octillery in a water deck, and it works perfectly. If we look at our trainers very quickly, well, no, let's go to energy next actually. 7 water energy, 4 double colourless. Most of the time, we're not going to need more than that, because for the double colourless, we're not going to use more than 4 attackers in a game, really. And then the water energy, 7 just allows for any being prized, because our main attackers only use technically 1 water energy, so that's fine. Right, supporters, I run 2 Delinquent. My theme in this deck is Disruption based, and that base being Red Card and Delinquent. So we've got 2 Delinquent, 1 Hex Maniac, 2 Lysander, 1 N, 3 Professor Sycamore, 2 Team Flagrant, because although the main aim is Red Card Delinquent for Disruption, I do run 2 Team Flagrant and 2 Enhanced Hammer as well. And the final supporter of the card in the deck is 1 Teammates. For example, if we need to get another Mega Glalie set up, we're missing pieces like, say, the Spirit Link, the double colourless energy. If we lose 1 Glalie, then we can just use Teammates, get the pieces to set up another, or whatever attacker we might need. So Teammates is probably one of my favourite cards, if not my favourite supporter in the standard format currently. Our item cards, we've got 4 Dive Ball. Obviously this is a natural inclusion for this deck. Just be able to search a water Pokemon. I did run 2 Ultra Ball until my second to last game I played with the deck, but I never actually used them, so I just got rid of those and put Fighting Fury Belt in instead. So we've got 2 Enhanced Hammer, just to get rid of special energy. 2 Red Card, these are to pair with the Delinquents. The idea being that if there's a stadium in play, Red Card Delinquent, suddenly my opponent's got 1 card in hand, and hopefully that card is a completely dead card that they can't do anything with.
3 Trainers Mail, would prefer 4, but there just isn't space in the list. 4 VS Seeker, that's about as standard as you can get. Our Stadium is Rough Seas, so we've got 3 of these. Originally I had Silent Lab in the deck, but I figured since we were running Manaphy, Silent Lab would hinder us rather than help us. So I cut the Silent Lab in favour of Rough Seas. And I know some of you might be thinking, Rough Seas, when your Glalie needs to have extra damage counters on it to be able to do the extra damage. Well, even if it takes us below the threshold, healing 30 damage can be the difference between Glalie surviving another turn and not. So I figured, let's try the Rough Seas, and it seems to be working okay. And then finally our tool cards for the deck. We've got 2 Fighting Fury Belt, and I've got 3 Glalie Spirit Link. And that is the whole of the deck. So even though I took the Zev Striker out, I kind of like the name I gave for it, which was Ice Bolts. So I'm just gonna stick with it, gonna roll with it. Right, so if we exit the deck manager now, that is the deck. So we are now gonna head over to Versus mode and jump into a battle. Okay, so heading over to Versus. We're already in the standard format. Ice Bolts is the deck we want, so we'll hit play. And let's see what we can get. Okay. I'd hazard a guess at Mega Mewtwo. Regice will be pretty good for this matchup. So our opponent is Arian. And we won the coin flip, so we do get to go first. Let's hope we get a nice starting hand to work with. I've seen worse. We do have Remoraid in hand, so as long as Trainer's Mail yields us a dive ball, then we will be able to get Octillery next turn. In fact, I wonder if I might be able to play some mind games with my opponent here. If I just draw pass. Okay, there's the dive ball. Okay, let's draw pass. See if my opponent falls for the bait that we've got nothing. There's a Mewtwo Spirit Link. Double Colourless Energy. Ultra Ball. That'll be the Hooper. Yep. This is going to be a classic Mewtwo start by the look of things. That'll be Hooper for, I'm going to say, 2 Mewtwo and a Shaman. Yep. Spot on. So Mewtwo, Mewtwo Spirit Link, Floatstone, and a Shaman, a full Shaman for 6. That's pretty good. So my opponent getting a, I'd say, much better start than us. And I think we need to go full Operation Regice. I'll just leave the Manaphy there for now. Now I wonder if my opponent's actually going to use that Parallel City to discard Hooper and Shaman. Yep. Or certainly one of them anyway, probably the Shaman. Yeah, I thought so. Means our attacks are reduced by 20, but to be honest, once Mega Glalie's got damage on it, it does that much damage, it really won't matter. Okay, so, first of all we're going to Dive Ball. And I think, rather than grab Octillery, I'm actually going to grab Regice here, because we really need to start powering up. The thing is, we're playing a Professor Sycamore now, we've got the Trainer's Mail we can play, and actually I'll stick with Rough Seas into play as well to knock off that Parallel City. Got double Colourless on the Regice, play the Trainer's Mail. Oh, there's a Dive Ball, excellent, so we can actually get that Octillery out anyway, which is excellent. It means we'll be discarding the Mega Glalie, but I'm not too worried about that. We can set Glalies up later. I'd rather roll with Regice for now. So there's Octillery. That Manaphy will need a Water Energy attaching it to retreat, unfortunately. So, play Professor Sycamore. That's pretty good. Got another Regice. So we'll roll with that. We've got more Trainer's Mail. And there's another Dive Ball, so I think we'll definitely go with that. This time we will get a Glalie out. could actually do with a VS Seeker or something off that Trainer's Mail that we've got in hand. So, we'll bench Glalie. Despite the fact that we had to start Manaphy, we're actually getting a reasonable setup here. And there is a Spirit Link. I could take the end, but we've got Auxiliary anyway, so I'm not too worried. So we'll throw the Spirit Link down on there. And I think we will use Auxiliary actually, we'll use Abyssal Hand. Team Flareground, okay. So that might be useful next turn actually. It may actually be that we have to burn a double colourless energy to retreat the Manaphy. That's if the Manaphy doesn't die, which I think it might be about to. Oh, okay, so we see an end from my opponent. As long as we draw into a water energy, I don't care what else we get. And we got the water energy, I'm happy. We've got Delinquent, we've got Team Flareground. I think that might be the knockout on the Manaphy, it is. But that's okay, because now we can start using Regice. Time to start the wall. Now, I haven't actually played this matchup, so I'm not too sure how it plays out. I mean, I'm hoping with Regice we'll have enough. Now, Resistance Blizzard, my opponent could play Pokemon Ranger. So now I've got to decide, am I going to go Team Flareground or am I going to go Delinquent? My opponent has a pretty big hand. In fact, first of all, we're going to use Abyssal Hand. A red card would be nice around about now. Mega Glalie. Okay, we can evolve. My opponent's got 7 cards in hand. I suppose forcing them to discard 3 of them wouldn't be so bad. It means we're discarding our own Rough Seas, but I'd rather force my opponent to discard resources that they might need, because I am banking on the fact that they're not going to be able to attack thanks to Resistance Blizzard. I'd rather get them down to a smaller hand size and leave them nothing to work with. Now, interesting fact here, I originally built a Mega Glalie list towards the back end of last season. It included things like Headringers and the heavy red card Delinquent line, and it was actually quite good. But something didn't sit quite right with it, so I shelved it. But I've always been a fan of it, so I decided I wanted to come back to it. Yeah, there's a Pokemon Ranger, I was afraid of that. Okay, so that's 220 damage. Maybe I should have just gone with the Team Flareground. Okay, so now we have to decide what we're gonna do here. I would think that most decks just play one Pokemon Ranger, but then how many VSC has my opponent played? None, which means that Regice is pretty much going to be useful. Okay, let's promote the Glalie. Now, what do we draw into here? Double colourless, that's going to go on here. Let's Abyssal Hand. We don't draw into much. We do still have the discard. To be honest, while my opponent's got nothing, I would rather play the Delinquent. Oh, I can't play the Delinquent, there's no Stadium in play. Okay, second best option, we go with the Team Flareground. And we'll just have to pass the turn. See, unfortunately that is one of the problems with using Regice. Whilst, say about 75% of the time your opponent's not going to play Pokemon Ranger, but then just that other percentage, that other 25%, they are going to play Pokemon Ranger. Okay, my opponent's just written their own death sentence by doing that, because all I'm going to do here... Right, I'm going to put the Fighting Fury Belt on Regice. It means we're going to have to discard a DCE here, but I'll take that. Grab the Professor Sycamore. All we need is a water energy, and that Mewtwo is history. Oh, for goodness sake, we missed the water energy! Oh, no! discard pile. Just the one. I don't believe it. All we had to do was hit the energy. I can't even play Team Flare Grant because I play my supporter for the turn. Well, that really is bad luck. Okay, so I'll just have to attach here instead. I can't believe we missed the water energy. Of all the energy cards to draw into, we drew into the double colourless. It may well be that I end up using this particular game for our video anyway, and if you're watching it, then obviously I chose to. But I know I said in my welcome to the channel video that whether we won or lost the games would stand as long as they were complete games. And there's a Lysander. So my opponent's going to Lysander out the other Glalie. Okay. But what my opponent doesn't realise is that if I can get that water energy, then I can knock that one out. Then the Glalie on the bench can knock out the other one. Now, do we go N, or do we go Sycamore? I'm not prepared to discard 2 VS Seeker, we're going Sycamore. I mean, we're going N. Come on, please water energy, please water... Thank you! Right, okay. Now we can get somewhere. And we've got teammates in hand for when this Glalie gets knocked out. Okay, forget everything else in hand, we're just going to go full on Cryomouth and knock out this Mega Mewtwo right now. Bye Mewtwo! Nice knowing you! Sorry, that was a bit rude of me. Sometimes I get carried away. Okay, there's a Mewtwo Spirit Link. And VS Seeker for Professor Sycamore. I mean, let's take nothing away from my opponent. My opponent's playing very well here. I mean, that Pokemon Ranger play earlier on was perfect to stop any ideas I might have had about walling with Regice. Okay, so this Glalie needs to stand. My opponent has one prize left to take. I can knock out this Mewtwo with a clean hit. Then we just have to hope. Oh, where's red card? Right, okay. So I can Rough Seas, because that'll still leave me with 10 damage counters. Because it has to be, as long as I've got 100 damage on, it's fine. Actually, we can get red card with teammates. So, fortunately there is still a copy left. We take red card. We take a water energy, one of the 4 that we have left. So red card and water energy. We don't need to play the enhanced hammer. So we go water energy. My opponent's hand is way too big for my liking, so we're going to bring them down to 4. Already played my supporter, of course, so I can't play Delinquent. Okay. Cryomouth for 250. Takes the knockout. That's a Hex Maniac and a Water Energy. So, this is right down to the wire. It all depends if my opponent has Mega Mewtwo. Did I do enough to disrupt my opponent and stop them getting the Mega Mewtwo? There's Trainer's Mail. If this is Ultra Ball, we're finished. Okay, there's a VS Seeker. It's got to be for Sycamore, right? It all comes down to this. If my opponent gets the Mega Mewtwo and an energy, I'm done. If my opponent doesn't get it... Okay, there's the VS Seeker. That's the Sycamore. It all comes down to this. If my opponent gets the Mega Mewtwo, game over. If my opponent doesn't get the Mega Mewtwo, we will survive. Nope, there's the Mega Mewtwo. Well, we made it. We mounted quite the comeback, but in the end it wasn't to be. But I hope you've seen the power of my Mega Glalie deck there. Because as you would have seen, once it's got damage on, the raw strength you have, being able to do 250 damage and just knock out... I mean, God, that's even enough to knock out a Wailord EX. Or any of these other new GX Pokemon that have got 250 hit points. As long as Mega Glalie has that damage on it, you can just run through and just do tons and tons of damage. So, it's definitely a deck that I like. It's definitely a deck that I want to do something with. Now, I'm going to a League Challenge next week. Glalie, I'd say, is on the table. There are other decks I want to test, but I think Glalie is definitely a consideration. Because, as you saw, as soon as Glalie gets damaged, as long as I've got backup Pokemon and don't lose too many prizes in the early game, then I can just run through my opponents. So, that's that then. So, Glalie is definitely a deck I like. What's your opinion on Glalie, viewers? Let me know in the comments below. Do you think it's a viable deck? Do you think it could work in the right format? I mean, at the moment I'm thinking in a format that's probably going to be rife with Volcanion as an answer to all the grass decks. Having Glalie as an answer to the fire decks, with no worries because Steel's not really around because they're all scared stiff of Volcanion, might not be a bad play. But let me know, viewers, do you like Glalie or not? And that's going to be it for this week. So this was TCG Weekly. I do hope you've enjoyed. If you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button for me. If this is your first time to the channel, please do subscribe, join the community and get involved. You can get in touch with me in a couple of ways if you desire. You can reach me by email, PokemonTrainerNeats@hotmail.com. I'm also on Twitter @PokemonTrainerNeats. Feel free to tweet me if you have anything you want to ask, any questions, or you just want to say hi. And that's all we've got time for today, so thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon.